All right, welcome everybody to the Lakers Legacy Podcast, where OKC, they stole our thunder and maybe our souls as well. Also, is Luka a passing hog? More on this clickbaity title in a second, but I promise you I am not trying to flame the face of our franchise. I'm your host, Jonathan Hernandez, and the Lakers got their purple and gold asses handed to them on a platter last night in OKC versus the Thunder, and were completely out-physicaled, out-motored, and outclassed. And overall, this has been a pretty poor road trip over the last week or so by the Lakers, as they are now 1-2 overall, with two really horrific road losses to the Atlanta Hawks and obviously the OKC Thunder. Why don't we start this by looking at the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers only scored 4 field goals last night in the second quarter. And let's quickly do a film study. And I apologize to those who are listening to this via podcast, but let's start off with a film study and watch all 4 field goals from last night's game. Let me make sure that I just cue this up real quick. All right, let's watch this together, folks. The Lakers, 4 field goals last night versus OKC. The Lakers did not score their first field goal in the second quarter till about the 4-minute mark of the second. In that second quarter, again, they made a total of 4 field goals, but one of those was tipped in by Isaiah Joe. So the Lakers actually needed help from a Thunder player to score in the second quarter. And look, I know the Lakers need vast improvements on the defensive end of the floor, but we kind of always knew that. We kind of already knew that. My biggest concern coming out of last night was what happens when the Lakers can't score against a better defensive team? Now that's a problem because we seem to have the offensively skilled players that we should need. But last night, again, we only scored 4 field goals in the second quarter. So let's watch it together. Here we have Marcus Smart. The shot clock's already down to 2 seconds. He has to throw up this Hail Mary to hit the 3. Then we've got this possession with Rui in the post. Tough shot over Isaiah Hartenstein. Luka Doncic knifing into the lane. Tough shot again. And here's the one where Isaiah Joe helps us out a little bit because he feels sorry for us. And then we get our 4th field goal. So I bring that up, and let me get this back into like a normal screen mode. So I start us off in that way, showing you guys the 4 made field goals that we made in the second quarter, because I do want to talk about the Lakers offense today. Again, even though I know that the Lakers need vast improvements on the defensive end of the floor, that shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody, especially as we're missing LeBron James, especially as we're missing our athletic, explosive rookie in Adu Thiero, who we were hoping would help out on that end. Like, we already knew defense was going to be a problem, but it's a little bit more damning and concerning when the offense looks as stalled out and clunky as it does against an actually good defensive team like the OKC Thunder. So today, that's kind of what I want to focus in on. And again, I do want to, here's the rundown of the agenda. I want to talk about the Hello Luka, Helio-centric, Helio-Luka offensive approach and where the blame sort of falls in that respect. Is it just who Luka is as a player? Is it on the coaching staff? Is it a little bit of both? We're going to get into that conversation. We are going to talk about the coaching staff and the offensive play designs or lack thereof from last night. And then to round things out, we're going to talk about how LeBron may or may not address some of these concerns. Maybe he exacerbates them. I don't know. I'm not going to be definitive any one way or another. I'm just kind of going to lay out my thoughts in that respect. And then we can close things out, land the plane by talking about the Lakers' lack of defense, their lack of athleticism, and what this team continually still needs to try and upgrade and improve upon as we continue the season. But yeah, before we do that, if you guys could please like this video, comment down below, and most importantly, hit subscribe if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed to the feed on those platforms as well. I would greatly appreciate it. But right now, if you're watching, like the video, mash the hype button. That helps out a lot as well. If you are so inclined to help me out in any small way financially, you can do so via the Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Venmo, links, etc., below. But you can also become a channel member, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Lakers Legacy Pod and get exclusive videos monthly. But with that said, let's get into things. I want to talk about the Helio Luka offense, which isn't too unlike Helio Kobe, Helio LeBron, and Helio Harden offenses, where the ball sticks to one player and the whole offense sort of just lives or dies by that one player's decision on any given possession. And I think Luka's version of heliocentric offense is a little bit different than Kobe's version or even LeBron's version, because I think Luka is a bit quirkier. He's sort of a mixture of Kobe and LeBron when it comes to the ball sticking to him, because scoring does come so easily for him, but he's a little bit more, actually he's way more methodical than Kobe, way more slower paced when he does handle the ball and choose to score. And yet Luka obviously also has sublime transcendent vision. He also wants to throw the Magic Johnson pass as well. So that's why I'd sort of view Luka as a mixture of Kobe and LeBron when it comes to the offensive solar system revolving around him. But I think even before last night, even before he, missed most of his shots against a better defense, I was already starting to wonder whether or not the heliocentric offense, where everything revolves around one player, is going to work against better teams. I think against bad teams, it's going to work more oftentimes than not. And I know Luka actually did this against the Minnesota Timberwolves and really put pressure on them. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are a good defensive team, so that may be kind of striking my own argument. But even from the start of this road trip, I was beginning to I was beginning to have some concerns with how we were sort of playing out these first quarters, even with how dominant Luka Doncic has been. But I'll kind of just put it this way. And I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm about to say. I'm not trying to bash Luka. I don't want Luka stands to come for me. I will say, I'll put this comment up here, and I'll read it. This is coming from a Luka fan, and this is on X. He mentions, I'm a Luka fan, and I agree with this, TBH. So I posted a video of sort of the Lakers' offensive possessions and how the ball kind of just stuck to one player. It wasn't necessarily just Luka. The ball kind of stuck to Austin's hands, etc. But I posted this video on X just talking about the heliocentric offense and how it kind of just takes guys out of rhythm. And by the time that you actually need those guys to step up, they're not going to, right? It's a kind of a classic chicken or egg argument with regards to, do you pass it to teammates who will fumble the ball out of bounds or miss their shots early on? Or do you take the shot yourself? By the time that you do pass it to them, are they going to be so out of rhythm that they're going to confirm your suspicions that you never should have passed to them in the first place? It's a lot of the stuff that, people who were frustrated with Kobe Bryant when he was in his prime. It's a lot of the stuff that we were talking about back then as well. Kobe being a ball hog and him not getting his teammates involved in the right way, et cetera, et cetera. I guess that's kind of where we're at. But with Luka, it's sort of like a different equation, as I kind of laid out. But anyways, this fan on X mentions, I am a Luka fan and I agree with this, TBH. I have always criticized Luka about this. He holds on to the ball too long and he doesn't make quick decisions. He would sometimes hold the ball and dribble the ball too long. He needs to be more quicker. So that is a quote from a Luka fan. So I know that there are, some even Luka fans out there who have sort of clocked this tendency out of Luka. And to be perfectly clear, this is not like an indictment on Luka. This is how Luka has become like this Hall of Fame player, because of his timing, because of his pace, because of his internalized clock. But I will say, against better defenses, we've kind of seen how that is almost detrimental to the rest of the team in some respects, and how there's a cap to that sort of ceiling. Because even when Luka scores, let's say 50 points I don't know if it's the same type of 50 points that Kobe used to score on his own as well, where it was just so much of a sledgehammer. It happened so quickly. Luka is a lot more slow burn in that respect. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about let's go back to talking about Luka. And I think I've boiled it down to this because I don't even think Luka is ball hogging per se. I don't even think he's ball hogging to score. I honestly think this dude just wants to get the best possible shot most of the time. But even when it comes to his passing, you know, I kind of had this clickbaity title at the top where I was like, is Luka a passing hog? And I mentioned that because over the last few games, as I've been watching Luka, I've sort of come to realize that he seems to miss the obvious passes that I think he should make to like the wide open teammate 5 feet next to him. He'll forego that pass and then make the pass that I never saw coming. So he misses the obvious passes I think he should make, and then he makes the passes I never saw coming, for better or for worse. And when he connects on those passes, when those passes are working, it's phenomenal. But when it's not, it just looks like dumb basketball. And as we saw last night versus OKC, they have the athletes and the length to be able to pick off more of those passes. So again, let me just make this clear. This is not an indictment on Luka. He is a generational Hall of Fame player with Matrix-like vision that we've rarely ever seen anyone have. So I'm not questioning his overall methodology or blanket damning him as a player. I'm just bringing up observations and critiquing certain things that don't seem to be working against an elite defensive team like OKC. And again, on 90% of the other teams in the NBA, I think Luka's approach works. You know, he's going to slice and dice a defense. He's going to use the first quarter to get his shots up and then, you know, play make. But in the playoffs against these better, more physical teams, I feel like we're playing right into their hands if just one dude holds the ball and everyone sort of stands around. And again, I'm not necessarily blaming that on Luka, which I'll get to in a second. But back to the passing hog theory. I'm kind of being hyperbolic and a little bit cheeky about this. I don't think Luka is a passing hog. Now, there are some players in the league that I have thought have fallen under that description. Players like Russell Westbrook, maybe even Rajon Rondo at times, dudes who just truly dribbled the ball out of the air, or the ball out of the air, dudes who just truly dribbled the air out of the ball only to pass it at the very last second to a teammate and collect that assist. So I do think there are some players out there who are passing hogs and won't let other people get a feel for the ball or get a rhythm. And I know sometimes it does feel like that's what Luka does. He waits till the very last second, passes it to a teammate, so he has no choice but to shoot. But I truly think Luka has generational vision, and I truly believe that when he's trying to take those extra seconds off the shot clock, he is really trying to get the defense to cave in on him so that his teammate gets the most wide open shot possible. But I do feel like, as I mentioned at the top, I do feel like Luka tends to make his passing life more difficult on himself because, as I mentioned at the top, I do think Luka too often forgoes the simple wide open chest pass or pocket pass that's in front of him in order to draw the defense in more and seek out the unexpected generational pass. Instead of hitting Rui at the top of the key for an open shot, he'll hold the ball and dribble to the sideline instead and wait for the double to come. And then throw a skip pass to the guy opposite corner who will also be wide open. But at times I'm just like, yeah, but Rui was wide open here too. Was that actually necessary? And again, as I mentioned, against good athletic teams like OKC, that skip pass to the opposite corner, that's going to get picked off. And it did get picked off last night. 4 turnovers for Luka, bunch of other turnovers for Austin Reeves. And I think last night to me was a game where you get the ball out of your hands and get the ball moving, have the ball find energy, have Luka come off of a curl, have Luka pass the ball, come off of a curl, get the ball back. But we can't just have this sort of we start at the top of the key with one person controlling the entire possession. And then at the last second, it boils down to, will Luka shoot this shot or make an incredibly difficult pass that we all know he can make? But against a team like OKC, he probably shouldn't be making that pass. And it's putting a lot more pressure on his teammates when he's not hitting shots and they're at a deficit. And we saw by the time Luka decided to start passing to like DeAndre Ayton and other guys, and I'm not saying that, his teammates aren't at fault. They should have hit their wide open shots. But sometimes if you haven't had a rhythm for a long time and Luka finally decides to pass you the ball and you miss that shot, and for one thing, by the time Luka did decide to start passing, the Lakers are already at a deficit. So for his teammates who haven't gotten into a rhythm yet, that's even more pressure put on them to like hit this wide open shot, whereas during the times when Luka is scoring in bunches and the Lakers have a lead, even if you haven't touched the ball in a while and Luka finally passes it to you, it's a lot easier and smoother off of your wrist, knowing that you can take this shot freely if you have a lead. Than the Lakers are down by 13 in the first quarter and they haven't hit a shot in the last 5 possessions and Luka just passed you the ball. Yeah, you're wide open, but you better hit this shot. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I've been seeing, not only from last night's game, but this was the problem in the Charlotte game as well in the first half. Only once the Lakers started running some sets and getting the ball, other people involved, did the offense start flowing. And also, if you remember, during the Minnesota Timberwolves series last year, game 1, this was the Timberwolves strategy. Let one dude try and beat you. And I believe game 1, Luka Doncic had a career low 1 assist that game, Now, it wasn't just Luka. It was also LeBron iso ball. It was also Austin iso ball. But I say all this to say, against the better teams, they are going to make the Lakers sort of fall into their trap of, yeah, you try and shoot everything. You try and hold the ball. And again, there are other ways of passing the ball that don't involve the actual basketball being in one player's hands for 20 seconds of the shot clock, And so really quickly, let me pull up some examples of what I'm talking about because, okay, so let me show you an example of a simple pass that I thought Luka should have done more of in the first half. So here he is in the post. I don't know why the Lakers weren't trying him in different positions on the court, which we'll get to in a second. But here Luka is in the post. He's not trying to do anything extra or flashy. The double comes. Luka doesn't hit. So usually Luka would try and hit Jared Vanderbilt in the corner, right? Or maybe Jake LaRavia. He would try to make the skip pass across the court. Here, he makes the simple pass to Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect is open. He shoots the shot. It's in. All I'm asking for is, why can't we make this simple pass more oftentimes than not? And I think for Luka, it's kind of ingrained in him that I can make whatever pass that I want to. So let me just try and get the best possible, most wide open shot, even when there's a teammate in front of him who can shoot better, who's wide open, that he can just sling the ball to. So this is the type of pass I'm talking about. Sometimes I wish Luka would just sort of opt for the simple read, the simple right read, instead of like the generational, like, wow, that was amazing, blew my mind read. Because again, that's a high variance sort of pass. So here's an example where, okay, I know people have something to say about this, but Rui is wide open on the wing here. We're talking about a Rui Hachimura who has shot 52% from 3 this season, okay? Luka has the ball. I mean, anybody off the streets, if I ask them, what do you think he should do here? They would say, hey, maybe pass it to number 28 because he's wide open, even without knowing, Rui's stellar 3-point percentages. But instead, Luka just kind of holds the ball, dribbles in further, and then takes this that's a bad shot. I think he would agree with me that that's a bad shot. But that's sort of what I'm talking about. Like, he should have just passed this to Rui. And I know people are going to say, oh, Rui wouldn't have had an open shot anyways because Shea was already shading over to him. I mean, Rui is 6'8". It doesn't matter. Let that guy shoot. He's had a quick trigger this entire season, and even if Rui doesn't take this shot, you kind of get the defense off balance a little. Maybe he passes it back to Luka so that Luka has a better shot. But instead, what we're left with is a fadeaway step back on Cason Wallace, one of the better defenders in the league. And I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough look. And so let me just I'll throw up even some. Okay, before I start rambling, 1 second, guys. All right. So Chenny Britt says, I was screaming at my TV watching Luka look off Rui on the wing for 3. Yeah, I mean, that happened a couple of times. And then Luka, there was a play, I think, at the end of the first when Luka actually found Rui for a really wide open baseline 3. And I was like, Rui hit this, Rui missed. And that's sort of what I'm talking about with regards to this chicken or egg argument where Rui wasn't in rhythm by that point and the Lakers were down by double digits. And so once he finally gets the shot and he's wide open, I feel like there's a lot more pressure on Rui to hit that shot. And once he missed, I can only imagine what's going on in Luka's head where it's like, see, that's why I don't pass to those bums. And I know people on X would also tell me that, like, dude, these guys were missing their wide open shots. Why should Luka pass it to them? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it's more of like a frame of mind in terms of how you start a game and whether or not you want to get your teammates involved. And again, I'm not saying Luka didn't want him to, or I'm not saying Luka didn't want to get his teammates involved, but it just sort of felt like Luka was, and I don't blame Luka for starting these games off the same way that he always starts games off, where it's like, let me get myself into a rhythm, let me like rack up the points and get the OKC Thunder to really cave in on me. But by his third or fourth miss, I feel like Luka should have maybe changed up the game plan a little bit. So Laker triangle, sounds like you want him to have more trust and it feels like he doesn't. I mean, a little bit. I think Luka is an unselfish player in general, but maybe he gets too caught up in the moment of trying to really, I think Luka always sees a green light once he gets switched onto a big or once he gets switched onto a smaller player in one-on-one situations. I mean, Luka can cook those players, but again, against a better team, an elite defensive team, you're going to need everybody. And I feel like the game plan from Luka's end and the coaching staff's end was just sort of lacking in that respect. Because again, this is what the Minnesota Timberwolves did to us last season in the playoffs. They chose to let Luka shoot. They chose to let Austin shoot. They chose to let LeBron shoot. And we got to give them credit for scheming the Lakers out of some of their sets and making it very uncomfortable for the Lakers. But I feel like too often the guys on this team, because they are sort of so offensively skilled, they fall into the trap of, you know what, let me just do this on my own and play hero ISO ball. And I just don't think that's like the right perspective. And so, moving away from Luka a little bit, I feel like that's sort of, when you're facing such a good team like OKC that can blow up your sets, I feel like the Lakers should push back a little bit more instead of like reverting and devolving their offense into, well, let me just break this down myself, And so let's just watch a couple of clips where that was the case. Here's Austin. I don't know what he's doing, trying to attack like 3 different players. Maybe he was going to pass it to DeAndre, but there it is. Here's Luka. He sees Chet. I'm going to cook this dude. I've cooked him before. Contested 3. When it's going in, that's great. When it's not, it's not. Here's the play where he takes on Cason Wallace and looks Rui off. Here he is, step back on Caruso. We're down by 11 at this point. Is that the best shot we can get? Here's Jake LaRavia trying to get Shai Gilgeous in the paint. Another one-on-one possession. Here we are, Luka on Caruso. It's a one-on-one situation, so he probably can get the best of him. But again, Austin 101. I mean, he should have made this shot, but so these are sort of the possessions where it just felt like the Lakers were trying to gain an advantage on their own without the help of their other teammates. And we'll get into the coaching staff because they are very culpable in this respect as well. But I think I bring this up because this isn't like the first time anybody's, talking about, hey, maybe the ball is sticking too much in Luka's hands, And I know this is probably going to be an ongoing topic of conversation. And again, I don't think this is like Luka doesn't trust his teammates or he's a selfish player, whether it's like to shoot or pass. I just think sometimes the coaching staff in particular, needs to get Luka in better positions to sort of, because he's so talented, get out of his own tunnel vision black hole of trying to do things on his own. So let's see. Let me just pull this back up. Let me recollect my thoughts here. Where else did I want to go? Okay, the last thing I want to say about this too, because I mentioned this on X, but Luka is no longer on a team with Dwight Powell, Josh Green, and Derek Jones. He has much more offensively versatile players around him, even if you don't want to call Rui offensively versatile. I mean, that dude's scoring 16 points on ridiculous percentages. DeAndre Ayton, we've seen how offensively versatile he is, and the two possessions that actually worked in the first quarter were Luka and DeAndre pick and rolls, where DeAndre was able to use his craft and his left hand to flip a shot in and bank a shot in, So it's like, and I think DeAndre was like 3 of 5 from the field. I don't believe he shot any more than that. So again, these are not Dwight Powell, Derek Jones, and Josh Green, but why does it feel like sometimes Luka is treating them like that? And again, yes, the guys could have hit their open shots. Yes, the guys were fumbling the ball on their own and turning it over. That's what's going to happen against a better defense. And again, we'll get to it. The coaching staff should have helped everybody out. But case in point, the Lakers are 3-1 without Luka and LeBron. The guys who are left on the team are not untalented. They are able to create on their own. That's how we beat Minnesota on the road, even without Anthony Edwards. Like, even though the teams that we faced without Luka and LeBron were lesser teams, I believe all 3 of our wins came on the road. So again, these aren't one-dimensional limited players that are surrounding Luka. And so I feel like we should be scheming up more things to capitalize and maximize on our guys' offensive versatility and skill. And so this is where I'll get into the coaching staff, because the coaching staff is also very culpable. Like, they can't allow Luka and Austin to just start the offense at the top of the key every single time and call for a high ball screen so they can run high pick and roll, because teams like OKC know how to muck that shit up and destroy it, blow it up, as they did. And we are once again getting into our offense way too late. It's getting too predictable. And if you watched Eurobasket at all, FIBA Eurobasket, and watch the way that Slovenia actually used Luka Doncic, they had him off the ball at times. Like, at times he wasn't starting the possession off. They had Luka curling off screens and pin downs. They had him in motion. Like, even the play I showed you where he passed it to Dalton Connect, Luka was in the post. I feel like the coaching staff should have done a better job of, yes, we want the ball in Luka's hands, but he doesn't need to have it for 21 seconds of the shot clock, and he doesn't need to have it in the same positions every single time. Excuse me. He doesn't need to have it at the top of the key. Sorry, I need to drink some water. So yeah, I just wish that we would have had more creative sets that allowed Luka to get freed up and allowed him to get the ball in different ways. Same goes for Austin. We had because this stick ball, hot potato sort of play is not going to work at a higher level, because it does boil down to and become solely dependent on individual shot making. And yeah, again, I know the Lakers tried to run some double drags. I know the Lakers tried to do some things, but the OKC Thunder were so good defensively that they were blowing those sets up. But I do think the coaching staff should have at least done a better job of, I mean, you saw those possessions where it's not just Luka's fault, right? Guys were literally just standing around on the perimeter. And by the time that, Luka would pass it to them, the shot clock would be at like, I don't know, 8 seconds. And so the guy would just pass it back to Luka. So it is on the other players as well, just like it is on the coaching staff. So I do think the responsibility falls on JJ Redick to help these other guys out, because it is a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of deal where, remember the Jake LaRavia who's scoring 27 points and 25 points and getting to show off a little bit of his like craft as well? That guy's completely gone. And he does look like a Dwight Powell type player. Like, we can't afford to let some of our offensively skilled players just sort of fade into the background. And again, DeAndre Ayton shouldn't only be getting 5 shots. You know, I understand DeAndre Ayton has his own deficiencies. I understand that he fumbles the ball a lot. I understand that he brings the ball down a lot. But every single time we have engaged DeAndre Ayton and made it a point of emphasis to try and get him on mismatches and utilize his skill in the post, good things have happened. Again, the 2 well-executed pick and rolls that occurred in the first quarter were Luka and Ayton pick and rolls, but I don't feel like we forced the issue enough. And then the second quarter, I mean, my God, I showed you guys the tape. 4 field goals in the second quarter, and all three field goals that we actually made, Isaiah Joe's shot notwithstanding, all 3 field goals we made were incredibly difficult. Marcus Smart, Hail Mary with 2 seconds left. Rui Hachimura pump faking on Isaiah Hardenstein and getting the tough lane to go. Luka Doncic knifing into the lane against 3 players and getting the layup in. I mean, how the Lakers were under duress the whole night. And again, credit to OKC, but the coaching staff doesn't seem like they were prepared to scheme up anything more than double drags and high pick and rolls and Spain pick and rolls like they've done before. And it just wasn't working. And so we devolved into hot potato iso ball. Luka try and do something. Austin try and do something. Against these physical, longer teams, Austin is going to have a hard time. And he was even trying to push the issue in transition. And he was like, you know, skidding over the floor and getting like banged around. And so it was a tough, it was a tough look for the Lakers. And before I move forward and talk about, you know, like how LeBron fits into this and what the Lakers can actually do from a personnel standpoint to fix some of these issues, because, you know, a mindset change and coaching schematics can only do so much. And let me make sure that you guys can see me because I froze for a second. But yeah, before I get into the LeBron of it all, and before I get into, you know, what upgrades this team actually needs, which is pretty obvious, let's first take it to break and let's talk about today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And let me bring up the Underdog Fantasy logo, because fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. This week on Underdog, I am looking at whatever Luka's assist prop is for tomorrow's game against New Orleans, because the props haven't gone out yet on Underdog. They'll probably refresh by tomorrow midday. But if Luka's prop is at 7.5 or 8.5 assists, I would take the higher. He's only had 7 assists the last 2 games. And I think he's probably heard the noise about how much the ball has sort of been sticking in his hands. And I think he's going to want to get the ball moving. And against a lesser team like New Orleans, who still have lanky defenders like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy, I think Luka will more actively want to get his teammates involved. So take the higher on whatever Luka's assist prop is tomorrow. What are you waiting for? Jump on the Luka playmaking bounce back and give his props a try. Use the free promo dollars Underdog is currently giving you and let me know how you do. Download the app today and use promo code LEGACY to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code LEGACY. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. All right, why don't we pitch it to a couple more sponsors, and then let's talk about LeBron and whatever the hell else this team needs to truly reach that upper tier echelon of these contending teams. All right, so we are back. Let me read some comments. Chenny Britt says, once again, Luka is my second favorite player, but I'm definitely concerned about his shot selection and usage. Against the best teams, we're just going to have to live and die with step backs. And unfortunately, yes, unless we change something about it or the coaching staff helps get Luka in different positions to succeed, because Luka handling the ball and winding it down to 6 seconds where the choice is up to him to either take the step back or sling it across the court to the poor guy who, while he may be wide open, only has a second to get this shot up, is probably not a recipe for sustained success. Eccentric Cast 3232. The Lakers look out of character in that game. The Luka-centric style may be out of style. They need to fix their turnover issues. And yes, I agree with all of those things. It's the Luka-centric style. Okay, so here's where we're going to get into LeBron James, because I think LeBron James just naturally fixes a lot of these issues by virtue of him being LeBron James. I know Luka has a good relationship with Austin, and I think Luka knows just how good Austin is. But against the tougher teams, I'm not sure Austin himself can also break down Kayson Wallace and Alex Caruso on his own. Like, he did a great job against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I'm also starting to wonder, like, just how much Luka trusts Austin. Now, with LeBron James in the picture, there is no question. I think outside of the obvious, LeBron's presence, like with LeBron serving as the ultimate release valve and as an additional explosive athletic finisher, outside of those very obvious things, I think just having LeBron back will allow maybe Luka to recenter himself a little bit and be more. He'll probably get the ball out of his hands a lot quicker if LeBron James is on the other side saying, "Give me the ball." Now, there is another problem with the ball sticking in LeBron's hands, but I don't know. Maybe the heliocentric offense works a little bit better if you have 3 heliocentric players and it's not the same heliocentric dude making all the decisions for you, because I feel like LeBron James approaches these games differently than Luka, and I think it's a good sort of different. And not saying Luka's approach is bad. I feel like their approaches to each of these games are pretty complementary to each other. So whereas Luka likes to start off these games guns blazing, trying to get 20 points, which he always does for the most part, getting 25 points by halftime, whereas Luka starts these games off looking for his own shots with the intent to, in my opinion, have the defense so laser focused on him that he can then start slinging the ball out to guys. Whereas Luka does that, I feel like LeBron is always the feel it out sort of player. He likes to get other guys involved much earlier, likes to get them into a rhythm, likes to feel the game out and see what he needs to do. And so when LeBron James returns, I think one, as I mentioned, I think Luka will be more. I think Luka will just pass the ball to LeBron more and allow him to run more possessions than, what's currently happening right now, where it just seems like Luka has the ball every single time with Austin sprinkled in here and there. I think we're probably going to get a little bit more 50-50 between Luka and LeBron. And when LeBron gets the ball, I do think LeBron will give us a little bit better balance of sort of helping set the table, because we just need the ball out of players' hands quicker and into the next dude. again, as I mentioned at the top, we have too versatile a roster and too many offensively skilled players for the ball to just be sticking to one guy and for the ball to be just staying on one side of the court as much as it has. And LeBron, I feel like even LeBron passes the ball differently than Luka. And again, this isn't an indictment on Luka because Luka has his own style, and this is how Luka makes the insane passes that he does by holding the ball on a little bit longer, even past the point where we think he should pass the ball. That's how Luka makes those insane passes. So I'm not trying to knock him. But LeBron, in comparison, I feel like LeBron is the more, I'm trying to use my words carefully. I feel like LeBron is the more giving passer in the sense that he will more often than not always make the right read and the right play, swing it to the open player, even if it's just the simple pass, or even if it's for better or for worse to a player that is not that good of a shooter or finisher. I feel like LeBron in his head, he can't not make the right play more often than not. That's not saying LeBron never makes the wrong play or that LeBron never chucks up a bad 3-point shot. We all know that he does, but I think in comparison to Luka, LeBron has faster reaction timing of just being like, I'm going to get the ball and swing it to this dude. It doesn't need to be a cross court pass. This dude is open. I'm going to swing it to him, you know? Whereas Luka, it's a little bit more calculated and again, slow burn. I'm going to hold the ball. I'm going to draw the defense in. Gabe Vincent's open over there. I'm going to throw it all across the court to him, you know? So I think this is where LeBron James will help. He sort of has that, I think he has more of a connective sort of playmaking than Luka does, outside of also being a visionary playmaker on his own, off his own dribble. So I think having another style of playmaker in LeBron James will help this offense better and maybe help balance out Luka's style of playmaking so that we don't always have this, all right, shot clock's running down. Where's Luka going to pass it to? Everybody's got to be ready. Or is Luka going to take a step back? Everybody crash the glass, you know? So I think that's like an obvious area where LeBron will help. And again, just having LeBron in general, someone that Luka undoubtedly respects and will concede to, should also help. But again, I just hope that the coaching staff is able to implement clever 3-man games between LeBron, Austin, and Luka to take advantage of their playmaking and their skill sets and not just have them call up high ball screens every single time, because we do need more diversity in how we are utilizing these players. Even though they are Hall of Fame generational players, can we get these guys off motion? Can we have Luka off the ball a little bit? You know, can we draw up plays where Luka and LeBron are in the post? You know, last night it just seemed like we had none of that, and it was, to Chenny Britt's point, live or die by the step back three. And that's just not, that's just falling into Oklahoma City Thunder's plans, because they're going to get the board off of that miss and they're going to go out the other way in transition. You know, like, bad offense is going to lead to even worse defense than the Lakers already have, because it's just going to lead to easy transition buckets on the Thunder's end because they have better rebounders than us. They have better athletes than us. And so, all right, I guess to close this out, because I do have to get back to my actual day job. To close this out, what do the Lakers need? I mean, I've been hammering this point home for a long time, and Underdog has gotten more pub than they probably should. Let's get them out of there. But yeah, I have been hammering this point since the beginning of the season. The Lakers' lack of freakish athletes, their lack of motor. There are guys who have motor on this team like Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, Jake LaRavia, etc. But we're just missing that athletic pop and oomph from some of the best elite tier athletes. Obviously, LeBron James will help in this respect. Adu Thiero will help in this respect. But think about what I just said. We're going to be relying on a 41-year-old LeBron and a rookie coming off of knee surgery who we haven't never seen play before. I don't know if that's the smartest thing, you know? And so the Lakers do need to get better defensively, but there's only so much we can do schematically. I think the Lakers have shown at times, especially in those units where it's been Vando, Smart, Laravia, Hayes, and Rui. Some iterations of those lineups with our highest motor guys that we can really compete defensively. But I don't know if we can do that for a full 48 minutes. And I definitely don't know if we can do that for a full 48 or for a full 82 games. Because even with as much as DeAndre has been trying on the defensive end of the floor, even with as much as of a help that Jake LaRavia has been, it's like there are still, we just don't have enough rebounders and we just don't have enough explosive, quick twitch athletes who will just snatch the ball out of the air and sprint down the other way and just yam it down people's throats. You know, we need more of those types. Like, even if it's like a, you know, an overwhelming Cam Whitmore type of player who will jam over, I forgot who he dunked over the last game, like Jalen Duran or something like that. But the Lakers, yes, need to improve their defense, but also they also just need to improve their overall explosiveness, athleticism, and physicality. These are all things that you guys already know. So, oh, thank you, Shani, for the super chat. Love the content. Hope Buffkin gets a chance. I do hope so as well. It'll be nice to see Buffkin and Nick Smith Jr. tear it up in South Bay. By the way, Nick Smith Jr., that's a player who I felt like the Lakers actually needed. I don't think he dressed last night, which I kind of wish he had, because you saw when we were faltering against the Portland Trailblazers, Nick Smith, I should mention, outside of explosive athleticism, the Lakers also could use just out of this world speed. And that's something that Nick Smith Jr. provides this team, especially when it comes to trying to beat pressure. Now, with Nick Smith, it could go the exact opposite way, and maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder would have taken advantage of sort of his wild cardness on offense. But I don't know. The Lakers just needed like another dynamic look on offense that wasn't so stalled out and predictable. And so Kobe Buffkin is also sort of in the same vein as Nick Smith Jr. I remember when I was scouting that draft, there were like 3 or 4 guys that I was looking at. Kobe Buffkin, Nick Smith Jr., Keontae George. I really wanted the Lakers to get Keontae George. And they all sort of fit the same mold of being these fast, versatile, offensively skilled guards who, could on their best nights be 3-level scorers. And yeah, so I do hope Kobe Buffkin gets a chance with the South Bay Lakers. And I hope, you know, he's playing with the South Bay Lakers. He's not on a 2-way contract. We'll see. Christian Coloco's numbers or days may be numbered. And so do the Lakers open up that roster spot and give it to a guy like Kobe Buffkin, even though they already have Nick Smith Jr.? And I'm talking about 2-way spots. Chris Magnon has sort of been killing it for South Bay. Now there's a guy that the Lakers could actually use. So I feel like they should call that dude up, give him some minutes to inject this Lakers team with some physicality, grit, and life, because Chris Magnon is also surprisingly very athletic as well. And that dude's motor never stops. And I think the Lakers just need more of those types of players, because when things are clicking, that's when everybody sort of like comes together. Like Rui's all of a sudden playing good defense. DeAndre Ayton's locked in, but it takes, you know, guys like Marcus Smart and to really rile everybody together or bring everybody together. And unfortunately, for as good as Jared Vanderbilt has looked on the boards, I think he had like 18 rebounds the last game. And for as good as Jared Vanderbilt has been defensively, he's just such a liability on the offensive end of the floor that, I don't know. The Lakers just need to get, yes, they need better defenders. Yes, they need explosive athletes. And I'll make separate videos on more targets soon. But the Lakers also just need to try and get less one-dimensional players, even if it's like a tick above Jared Vanderbilt, you know, like someone who can knock down an actual 3-point shot, someone who can actually convert and finish a layup. Something which somehow Jared Vanderbilt still can't do. So I wouldn't freak out just yet. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the defending champions against lesser opponents, against teams that are on our same level. We will be able to pick them off because of how offensively skilled and versatile we are. And because we at least have like a baseline level of defense that I believe we did not have last season. But if we want to be an upper echelon team that can compete in a 7-game series with some of these more athletic, physical teams, then we are going to have to make roster improvements. But right now, the whole point of this episode was kind of like, the Lakers need to make some defensive upgrades by shipping off Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber for sure. We all know that. But for me, I was kind of more focused on the offense because that's the thing that we can control internally in the here and now. And that's something that, you know, Luka can control right now. That's something the coaching staff can control because we are one of the offensive juggernauts coming into last night's game in the NBA. And for us to be stifled as much as we were by Oklahoma City and score only 4 field goals, I'm going to say 3 field goals because, again, that Isaiah Joe shot shouldn't have counted. For us to only make 3 field goals in the second quarter, being one of the top offensive teams in the league, being like number 1 in mid-range field goal percentage, that's unacceptable. And that worries me more because we have the offensive personnel to do much better than that. And maybe that was an outlier quarter, probably might have been, but I don't know. The Atlanta game and this game do not inspire confidence. It's been literally a rocky road trip for the Lakers, and hopefully they can get things together and the reinforcements will eventually come. Luckily for the Lakers, they do have internal reinforcements coming very soon in LeBron James, Adu Thiero, and please bring up Chris Mignon to continue to inject that hustle, motor, spirit, and life to this Lakers team that so desperately needs it and needs to be reminded to play hard on a consistent basis. And, you know, I do think this little stretch for the Lakers may help them in the long run. I do think they were starting to get a little too overconfident in themselves. And maybe this allows us to take a step back and give ourselves a little bit of a reality check that, dude, we haven't done shit yet. We're not that good. There's still a lot of work to be done. I love what Marcus Smart has been doing, but let's play smart basketball as well. And yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel, become a member. And yeah, I will catch you guys next time. This has been Jonathan Hernandez of the Lakers Legacy Podcast. Peace out.